Hello everyone, I'm Rodney from 3dgamingman.com, and today I'm looking at the SilverStone RV05 case. First, let's have a look at the box that it came in. Very colorful, descriptive, has pretty much all the information on it. If you are picking it up in store, it will be very, very helpful. Now inside of the box, they include a fan filter. And this is a magnetic fan filter, that's for the power supply in the back. A detailed installation guide, and a box which has just screws and a few cable ties in it. And the case actually itself comes in this nice cloth bag. This is the fifth case in the Raven series, all the way from the RV01, which had the 90-degree motherboard mounting, and so does this one. So instead of everything coming out of the back like you'd find on regular cases, everything comes out of the top on this one. Now, I'll show you that a little later on. This case, I think the styling is quite nice. It's not too much over the top. It still holds true to the Raven theme, but is elegant. Now, this is one of the smallest mid-tower cases that's on the market, but don't let size deceive you, because you can fit a lot of stuff on the inside of this case. It measures in at 242 by 529 by 498 millimeters. The inside capacity is 63.8 liters, as well as comprised mainly of plastic and steel. At the top, there's lots of ventilation, and actually this panel can be removed by pulling at the back, and it just comes right off. And that will give you easy access to everything that would normally be at the back of a case, but it's at the top. I'll show you that in just a second. Also up here, you've got the power button, reset button, and a rubber piece which can be easily removed. It has SilverStone stamped on it. Taking this off reveals two USB 3 ports, as well as the audio jacks, one for the headphones and the other the microphone. And with the top panel removed, you can see that there's a couple of supports or braces. You can also kind of use these as handles, but they are plastic. If you're lifting a case full of gear with these, make sure you're using both of them. Don't just use one of them. And actually, they are not intended to be used as handles, so keep that in mind. Now, again, what you normally would see at the back of a case is at the top here. The power supply, you've got the video card, you know, all the PCI slots, and also a place to install a 120 millimeter fan. So you can install an optional 120 millimeter fan here, or if you want to, an ALC, advanced liquid cooler. You've got 7 ventilated PCI slots, and here is where a standard ATX power supply gets installed. Now, also at the top here on each side panel, there is a little release. You need to push up on either one of those to lift the side panels off. Now, it's really easy to put this top panel back into place. You just line it up at the front first and then push down at the back. This case doesn't have a 5¼ inch drive bay, and that's one of the reasons why it's so compact, but still plenty of room to work on the inside, because let's face it, even one 5¼ inch drive bay can take up a lot of valuable space, especially in a mid-tower case, because some mid-tower cases have one, if not two, 5¼ inch drive bays. And in my opinion, these days is kind of wasted space. I know you can install, you know, something other than an optical disc drive in a 5¼ inch drive bay, like, for example, a fan controller, but a lot of us couldn't be bothered. Now, they do have space in this case for a slim optical disc drive, and the slot for that is on the right side right here. And I've taken this out, but this is the mounting system that's on the inside of the case, so you can install the slim optical disc drive in that. So there is provision for a 5¼ inch drive, but it's a slim one. At the front bottom, they've got a very long dust filter. This is for the bottom 2 fans. I'll show you those a little later on in the video review. And at the front top is the Raven logo. Just underneath that is an accent piece. This glows white, and that's quite nice. Now, there's a couple of options for the left side panel. You can get the one with the window, like I have, or you can get the one without. Now, the branding continues. They've got SilverStone stamped here at the top, and the same SilverStone logo stamp here on the right side. Note, though, that the right side panel is plain. Now, the back of the case looks rather odd, because we're used to looking at cases that have all of the ports, I/O, power supply, fans at the back. But this isn't like that, of course. All you've got here is a hole ventilation for the power supply's fan to intake cool air, and they do include a magnetic filter for that, as well as a hole here for all the cables to exit. At the bottom of the case there are 4 rubber feet, and again this humongous removable dust filter. Note the fans. They include 2 180mm intake fans. And these fans do a super job at cooling everything on the inside of this case. The design on this case when it comes to cooling is exceptional. These fans pull in all kinds of cool air where it's important. At the bottom of the case, they move that cool air throughout the case all the way up. Eventually, of course, it's going to get a little bit warm, and then that warm air exits out the top of the case. And remember, most video cards have these blower style fans, and even if they don't, they exit the hot air usually out the top of the case. Again, heat rises, so this design makes perfect sense. Also keep in mind that you can install an optional 120mm fan at the top, and they do have 3 different speed settings for these fans at the bottom. You can control these just on the inside at the top. And here are the switches for both of the fans. You've got, again, a low, medium, and high setting. Would have been nice, actually, if they had this on the outside of the case so it's readily accessible. But usually when you set this up, well, you know, you can kind of set it and forget it. Now let's take a look on the inside of this case. As I mentioned before, to remove each side panel, you'll need to release a latch here at the top. There's one on either side panel. Just basically push up on that. It's at the top, middle, on the inside, and then you can just pull the side panel off like that. Now, as for motherboard compatibility, this case fits SSI CEB, standard ATX, and micro ATX. As for video card length, well, you can fit a video card that is up to 12.3 inches long. The width restriction is 6.57. The limitation of the CPU cooler is 162, so you're going to be able to fit a nice tall cooler in that. Most coolers these days, even the tall ones, are under that 160mm height. Also, power supply length, well, that shouldn't be a problem at all. If, for example, you want to have a very long power supply, one that has, you know, a lot of wattage, then you could just go ahead and remove the 3.5-inch drive bay cage. Now, there's really not a lot of space behind the motherboard tray for routing cables, but I managed to do it. It's really going to depend on what cables you're trying to route. If you have a power supply, you know, and the cables are in big, massive, thick bunches, you might have a severe problem in doing so and routing it to where you want to, and you don't really want to go out, you know, into the main part of the case and hinder airflow. Now, as I mentioned before, you can install 2 2.5-inch drives back here. You can see I have one installed here. You can install another one here. However, if you install another 2.5-inch drive here, it's going to really hinder routing the cables. You have nowhere else really to go with that. The other option, of course, is to use a 2.5-inch to 3.5-inch drive adapter and install the solid-state drive or solid-state drives in the front 3.5-inch cage if you want to do that. That's an option. Also note that I do not have the slim optical disc drive bay holder installed, and if you have that installed, well, you're going to have even more of a problem in routing the cables. But I guess where there is a will, there's a way, and if you make the case that bit thicker, it's going to be bigger, and so on and so forth, but still an extra bit of space here would have been perfect. Now, I have a complete system installed here, so it's not going to give you a true test on what the bottom 2 fans sound like, but it will give you some idea because the other fans are, well, literally hardly spinning. So right now it is on the low setting. Medium speed. And the high speed. And these fans move an exceptional amount of air, again, pulling in cool air from the bottom, forcing it up through the case and then exiting all the warm air out the top. Now, I normally don't like over-the-top case designs, you know, cases that look like cars and transformers and whatever. That's fine if you do. I like cases that are elegant. However, I love the look on this case. It is all black, a nice accent piece here on the front. I really was amazed with the overall styling, build quality, and fit and finish on this case. Looking at it on their website did not do it justice at all. Lots of space to work on the inside considering its size, perfect layout, wonderful cooling overall. Remember, you can install another optional 120mm fan at the top or an advanced liquid cooler if you want to. There's tons of options with this case. Now, sure, you can't fit a lot of drives inside the case, but remember, if you're looking for a compact mid-tower case, this is pretty much the only case that is on the market in this mid-tower classification that is this small. You can fit so much stuff on the inside. Sure, you can go with a micro ATX or a mini ATX case, but then you're limited to motherboards. Again, you can fit standard ATX motherboards inside of this. You can fit standard ATX power supplies, long video cards. You know, it has tons of options. Overall, this is a 100% kick-ass product. Until next time, take care.